8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, good morning. I would now like to call to order the March 4th, 2026 meeting of the Indiana State Board of Education. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bess.
Here.
Ms. DeLosa.
Present.
Mr. Durham.
Present.
Dr. Ernest.
Here.
Ms. Hamill.
Here.
Mr. Gassnow.
Here.
Mr. Mapes.
Here.
Ms. Moat.
Here.
Ms. Rentschler.
Here.
Mr. Watts.
Here.
And Dr. Jenner.
Here. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
With a motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the January 14th, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
With a motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, well, good morning. We have a packed house this morning, which we love. I know there are a lot of Hoosiers in the room, but I also know we're welcoming quite a few folks from around the country who have come today to shout out our high school model and some of the work that we've done thus far. I think we as a board, as a team, as a state, feel like we're just getting started in terms of what we can get done for our students, but we are just really honored to welcome so many people to the room today, and we know we'll certainly be hearing from several here shortly. Also wanted to share with the board, and our educators certainly know this, the iRead and the SAT windows have officially opened. Those, of course, over the spring, we'll have varying windows throughout so that we can best understand where our students are in Indiana and, again, how to continue moving the needle. So a huge thank you to our educators, parents and families, and students for all of your hard work. This is also Read Across America Week. On Monday, I think, was the official day, but certainly any day that we can read to kids or encourage kids to pick up a book is always a good day. So I know I've loved seeing social media posts about different surprise readers. I know in the community where I live in Madison, Indiana, I saw that the mayor surprised Rikers Ridge Elementary School. So again, this is not just educators reading to children. This is anyone from the community coming into our schools. Obviously work with the principal and team, but we need great readers for our kids. I also wanted to shout out William Durham. William sent me a message. It feels like it was like 2 years ago, but I think it was like 2 weeks ago. He sent a message about how his fraternity partnered with some schools to read to some students. William, would love for you here shortly to share a little bit about that. That'll give you a couple seconds at least to think about what you're going to say since I called you out. We also had some updates in terms of some money that was awarded. So the career coaching grant was announced. $15 million was awarded to support students across the state and to improve our college and career coaching efforts. The funding went to about 21 organizations, and all of that is public for those who are interested. Again, we are eager to hear from the XQ team and Ruslan Ali as you kick off your nationwide tour about how high school can be more meaningful for children around our country. So we're definitely eager to hear from you. We're also very eager as a board to approve our state's accountability rule. This has been something that has been a long time coming, and many stakeholders around Indiana weighed in. So we'll be thrilled to approve that today as well. And then finally, I would call out, I think the folks in Indiana certainly know, Sine Die was Friday night. Sine Die is always a welcome moment in time. That is when the General Assembly officially gavels out and said our work is done for the year, unless a special session is called, which we don't foresee. But this legislative session, you know, we as an education team had a number of wins. One of the big wins was on social media. That was an effort that was not just education, but a variety of different legislators, stakeholders. Representative Joanna King is one example. She's been working on this for several years now. But people just really put all hands in. And the goal is to protect our children from the social media algorithms and some of that addictive technology. We are seeing, as a state, as a country, as a world, the impacts of the longitudinal data, the academic outcome impacts, the mental health outcome impacts. And so for our youngest children, our children who are rolling in elementary school with their social media accounts in third grade and on up into early middle school, we want to make sure our kids are as protected as possible and that their parents know, so that parental permission is there. So a huge congratulations, I believe, to our whole state for getting that done. It was out of all of the House and Senate members, everyone voted, Democrats and Republicans, except for one person for that bill. Everyone. Like, that is remarkable. So, huge shout out there. Other legislative initiatives I know we'll certainly talk about included reading, increasing that reading threshold for the literacy cadre. Lilly Endowment, as you know, as the state knows, is funding that for us. Civics literacy work. I mean, I could go on and on, but huge thank you to everyone who helped with that. All right, at this time, I'll now invite board member comments. Are there any board member comments?
Thank you, Dr. Jenner. So my fraternity is Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and there is a national initiative called Room to Read. It's typically on January 23rd, which is National Day of Reading, and we had an opportunity to read to students at IPS School 42. And so it's an opportunity for us to get in front of kids, encourage kids to read, encourage kids to really delve into the joy of reading, and quite honestly, it allows us to be in front of kids, and really, we miss that opportunity to be in front of kids. And so it was a great opportunity for us to do that. The kids enjoyed it, the fraternity members enjoyed it, and the administration of the school, School 42, enjoyed it as well. And so we'll do this every year where we go to a school and read to kids so that they can fall in love with reading all over again.
Thank you, William. Any other board member comments or reports? All right, seeing none, we'll move to public comment. And the first person I'll welcome is Jeff Butts with the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents. Good morning.
Morning, Dr. Jenner, members of the State Board. In the spirit of Read Across America Day, I have prepared some remarks because there's some very important points that I want to cover. Again, I'm Jeff Butts, Executive Director of the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents. I'm here to talk this morning about the accountability rule that is being considered. And I want to first give a very sincere appreciation to the team from the department and the State Board for the work that has gone into this process, the long process that we have gone to get here today. The engagement of educators across the state, the multiple opportunities for feedback, and the commitment to a thoughtful collaboration have been clear throughout. At its core, accountability exists for one reason, and that's for our students. Our families deserve honest and transparent information about how their child's school is performing, and educators deserve a system that recognizes growth, excellence, and continuous improvement. Our shared North Star is very clear and simple, that every student is prepared for post-secondary success. Superintendents across Indiana are responsible for turning these accountability systems into meaningful improvement for students. We lead districts that are urban, rural, and suburban, and we know that accountability must be clear, credible, and aligned to student outcomes. Over time, we've also learned some very important lessons from our past systems that we have had in the state of Indiana. While they provided data, they were often too complex for families to understand and sometimes emphasized compliance more than outcomes. Growth and proficiency were not always balanced in ways that fully reflected our students' progress, and schools were not always given clear signals on how to improve. This new rule represents a very important step forward. It strengthens the balance between student proficiency and growth. It recognizes both achievement and progress, and it sharpens the focus on foundational literacy and mathematics, which remain the bedrock of our students' long-term success. At the high school level, it more clearly connects accountability to graduation and meaningful post-secondary readiness, whether that pathway is enrollment, enlistment, or employment. I'm also encouraged by the system's broader view of student success. I have long advocated for measures such as credentials of value, dual credit, work-based learning, and engagement, and this model tells a more complete story about what schools are doing to prepare students for life beyond high school. Another key component is the transparency of this rule. The framework provides clear signals for schools on what matters most. In early grades, that means ensuring every student reads on grade level and builds strong math foundations. In the middle grades, it means continuing academic growth while helping students explore career pathways and build strong habits of engagement. And in high school, the goal is clear. Every student graduates and leaves with a meaning credential, experience, or a plan for their future. On behalf of Indiana superintendents, I want to thank you for the collaboration and thoughtful leadership that have shaped this proposal. We stand ready to continue working with the board and with the department to ensure every student in every community is prepared for a successful future. Thank you, Dr. Jenner.
Thank you, Jeff, and a huge thank you for all of your partnership. Many, many, many hours of discussion, conversation, and landing this important plane for Indiana. Next, we'll invite Todd Bess, the Indiana Association of School Principals.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
On behalf of the Indiana Association of School Principals, I would say thank you also to this board, weighing in, staying in, and engaging and ready to hopefully say yes to a model that we're going to have here soon. To the DOE team, obviously too, countless hours spent considering ideas, looking at data, and again, trying to find the best possible manner forward for our kids. We as an association, we provided a letter of support. You can certainly read that, and I won't read that entirety to you. A few points from there, though, that I think are important. This accountability model and rule prioritizes student growth alongside proficiency, recognizing the progress schools make every day with students at all starting points, right? Those that are below, moving them up, those that are just about there, and then obviously those that are still wildly proficient, keeping moving them and finding those success indicators. It strengthens alignment to graduation outcomes, meaningful post-graduation readiness indicators. School leaders can easily explain the linkage between our new diploma, our SEALs, and the accountability system. There's alignment. It improves transparency. Families and communities can better understand school performance. There's always a bit of math that goes on in these kinds of models, and being a math major by trade, that isn't too foreign to me. At the same time, what I like is we can say, we're going to add these things up, every kid matters, and here's where the grade is the outcome. It'll be easy. It provides clear signals to school leaders about what matters most: literacy, math achievement, SEAL attainment, and preparation for enrollment, employment, or enlistment. I happened to be at a district meeting last night in Terre Haute, one of our own district meetings, and I was asked, who's making these decisions? And then, who's at the table? And obviously, this board in particular right here is making these decisions along with other state leaders. But who's at the table? And it's all these associations, all these stakeholders. I didn't go back and find on my calendar the very first meeting I had within the DOE on this topic, and then all of those others. But suffice to say, ISP has been there at the beginning. We've been there through all the focus groups, individual meetings, and multiple calls along the way. In the end, this is transparent, it's kid-centered, it values both achievement and student success. The ISP mission of all principals, all kids, calls us, school leaders, to ensure that every decision at every metric drives high-quality education and continuous improvement. When accountability reflects the real work happening inside our schools, it strengthens trust, sharpens practice, and advances student outcomes. We appreciate all the time that you spend on this, and we support this rule that's coming forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd, and again, a huge thank you. He wasn't kidding about the random phone calls that he received, like, hey, we had another piece of stakeholder feedback come in, would love your ideas, so huge thank you to you as well. And now we've heard from superintendents, we've heard from principals, let's hear from some teachers. Rachel Hathaway with Teach Plus.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Rachel Hathaway, and I'm the Executive Director for Teach Plus. Super excited to speak with you all today about the accountability framework. Teach Plus, we're a nonprofit organization that works to empower educators both to take leadership in policy and practice issues across the state and really lean into their position as change agents. Teachers are closest to the work of improving student outcomes, and Teach Plus, we believe they are best positioned to inform and drive change and improve outcomes for our students across the system. Our teachers see firsthand how accountability systems influence classroom priorities, instructional planning, and school-wide focus. When accountability is clear, aligned, and balanced, it can serve as a powerful tool for continuous improvement. When it's overly complex or disconnected from classroom realities, it risks becoming compliance-driven rather than student-centered. We've appreciated the opportunity to work really intentionally to collaborate with the department and to ensure that the framework really incorporates teacher insights. We've actively convened educators from across the state to weigh in on this accountability framework throughout the entire process. It's been a pleasure to work alongside Ron. He has been very patient with all of our questions and been really responsive. And his team has been awesome as they've honed and iterated upon the model. At each step, our policy fellows have helped socialize these changes with their peers, and they collected critical feedback that we then were able to synthesize and then bring back that data to the department to say, hey, this is what we're hearing, how do we continue to make it better? Acknowledging that Indiana has held schools harmless for quite a while, our teachers are eager for a stable, transparent system that they can help champion and implement. Specifically, we value the stronger alignment to meaningful readiness indicators, elevating credentials of value, work-based learning, and other real-world experience reflected that the educators understand to be true. Students need both strong academic foundations and opportunities to apply their learning in authentic contexts. By shifting to an end size of 1, where every student's individual growth and unique pathway counts, this framework gives teachers the tools to celebrate and support success beyond a single test score. The structured milestones across the student's K-12 journey provide clearer signals in what matters most at each stage: foundational literacy in math in early grades, sustained academic progress in the middle grades, and graduation readiness in high school create a coherent arc that educators can align to in practice. Accountability should not be about labeling schools, it should be about improving them. When paired with support, professional learning, and clear communication and structure, this framework has the potential to strengthen teaching and learning statewide. Teach Plus remains committed to elevating teacher voice in the ongoing refinement and implementation of this model. We appreciate the opportunity to provide input through the rulemaking process and look forward to continued collaboration to ensure the system works in service of students and the educators who support them. Also excited about the potential conversations that this opens up around teacher performance, the conversation around evaluation, rigor, and what this sets us for a place where we can really get creative around how we think about teaching. So thank you again for the time. Have a good day.
Thank you, Rachel. And again, you know, in addition to the three people who spoke today, I'm looking across this audience and even those who are not in the room. There were so many people at the table, hours and hours and hours, including, in addition to our educator community, many parents and families weighing in on what would be helpful for them to see. Many of our community and business leaders weighing in terms of, you know, the quality of a school, the quality of the education is the foundation of a community's economic success. And so we were thrilled to have them weigh in, and then also legislative leadership who was very eager to weigh in, give thoughts, and support. So huge thank you to many folks. On that note, let's shift to consent agenda before we start talking about some of these items. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. With a motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, let's go to new business. And I think the first piece of new business is the accountability rule. So Ron, if you want to come on up, and Paul Ketchum, while they're sitting. Katie Moat just said she feels like you all need walk-up music. What walk-up music would you choose, Katie? The tech team just looked at me like, we have that. And I'm like, I'm nervous to even hear what that is. I'm like, they did. Why don't you say that, Katie? I mean, that's accurate.
This team has just worked so incredibly hard for this moment. It is like, you know, Major League Baseball game where they're coming up, and just can't praise them enough and thank them enough, Ron in particular, and his team, for just all the very thoughtful preparation and patience to incorporate feedback. So this team has just really knocked it out of the park.
Thank you, Katie.
I feel like I'm in a Reese Cup moment where the accidental discovery of peanut butter and chocolate go really well together. The walk-up song might become part of that might happen for me now, so I appreciate that recommendation.
Oh, gosh.
Again, my name is Paul Ketchum, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to stand before you today. And I have a very unique lens in this process. I've sat on both sides of the table across one another. As a superintendent, I can't give Dr. Jenner and her team enough credit for their willingness to always talk to the field, to say, here's our framework, here's our non-negotiable core values, how can we get there together? And what we have here today is that model. I'm going to use a lot of basketball references today because it is March and we're in Indiana, even though I'm an old football coach. And I'll start off with, in 49 other states, it's an accountability rule. In Indiana, it's a roadmap for schools and students and families to be successful. I'm so grateful, again, for Ron and the DOE team. I underestimated the amount of work that goes into a project such as this. And again, Ron has done an arduous amount of the work. But what makes our team so special is he brings that work to us. And then we, through our lenses, pressure test it and make it better and push back. And we sleep on it. And then we come back the next day and say, what about this? There's just been an enormous amount of work. And again, I want to really elevate those efforts. Let's go through the future of accountability agenda. So let's level set, and let's do this first. Let's remember our why. I stand before you today in honor of 1.13 million students in our schools. And just as important as the students are the educators who teach those students and the administrators who lead those buildings. And William, you mentioned about missing students. That's probably one of the worst parts about being a superintendent, is you miss those interactions. Mm-hmm. But this morning when I woke up, I realized that what you're about to prove today impacts every student in our state. So again, I'm so proud to be a small part of that. That's remembering our why. If you want to go to the next slide, please. Hoosiers engage in the process. We're going to talk a little bit more about at what level and what cross-section of Hoosiers who have been part of this process and really helped us develop a great model. Final draft developed by Hoosiers, for Hoosiers, by Hoosiers, and Ron's going to dive into that. He's also going to give you specific student examples of what this accountability rule is going to look like at a local level. And I love the fact that we're talking about N is one. It is such a granular accountability rule. It is truly all means all students. And sometimes we say those things, but do you really mean those things? At my prior school at Batesville, we went through a process with Ford NGL. We built a master plan. And the feedback from our parents, our students, and our teachers that this plan must meet the needs and grow all kids. And I think this accountability model does that. N of one is so important for us as we talk today. And then we'll look forward ahead to the actual implementation. And what I love about the implementation, it is a true North Star, as Dr. Butts talked about. It is a roadmap. There is clarity. And our role as a department now is to support educators as they move along this roadmap so that students are successful. Let's go to the next slide, please. And again, I use a basketball analogy. I'm the color guy today at the game. Ron's going to be the play-by-play guy. So I'm just setting Ron up here to knock it out of the park here in a second. So our shared vision and goal, you know, aligning accountability to what matters most for students. I live in a glass house, but I've been at places that sometimes accountability or expectations don't necessarily line up with what students need or what's important in the classroom. This rule does that. Our shared vision and goal is to develop an accountability model in Indiana, our great state of Indiana, that values all the characteristics essential to student success, as well as, and this is the part I love maybe more, as well as every student's unique pathway. When we start to tell students how there's relevance in what they're learning and we uncover their passions, they become engaged. And Greg, I know you as a classroom teacher, when you have engaged students, you have better outputs, right? You have better outcomes. And I think what this model does for us, it allows us to obviously build a very strong academic foundation, but in the meantime, as we move along the K-12 continuum, and we underestimate how important that ecosystem, those touch points are of a K-12 continuum, we start to create relevance in fourth grade for a senior in high school. We can see those connections, and that's so important for us as we move along this. Next slide, please. Our why. You know, in Indiana, we are laser focused on ensuring more students have access to the knowledge, skills, and experiences. And again, that's been a shift for me professionally. School is so much more. It has to include not only knowledge, but skills that we have defined collaboratively that we want our students to have. And also experiences. You know, field trips can be so much more than just a trip to the zoo. How do we ensure that students are exposed to those experiences that align with the knowledge that let them apply the skills they learn, right? So how do you put all those three touch points together in a daily interaction for our schools? So proud of what this model does for that. And Dr. Jenner said it best, and everybody who spoke at this podium, but I'm going to beat this dead horse. This work has been directly informed by educators, students, parents and families, community leaders, industry partners, and so many more. So again, this is not Dr. Jenner's rule. This is our rule. This is the state of Indiana's rule that we want to implement and have you approve today. Again, so honored to be a part of that. As we continue to expand educational opportunities for students, we have to evolve our school accountability. It must evolve too. When's the last time you've been to a Blockbuster? It's been a while, right? Yeah. If you refuse to evolve, and if you don't identify your priorities, you become irrelevant. Indiana's not doing that. And I'll say this again, in 49 other states, it's an accountability rule. In Indiana, it's our roadmap for student success. And I really believe that. Next slide, please. Indiana's graduates prepared to succeed. GPS characteristics. Hoosiers, almost 7 million Hoosiers, consistently agree that 5 characteristics are the most important to a student's lifelong success. Not a temporary success their sophomore year, not to reading in 3rd grade. These are characteristics we value for lifelong success. Academic mastery, the knowledge, our career and post-secondary readiness, credentials and experiences. This model aligns so well with the high school model. Now the diploma has value and serves as currency the day after graduation. But we shouldn't wait until a student's senior year to talk about careers and things of that nature. So career and post-study readiness, credentials, and experiences. Communication and collaboration. What an important skill set for our students to have, no matter what they choose to do in life. Work ethic. Hoosiers value work ethic. Get up, come to work every day, do the best you can, and get up and do it again tomorrow. And I think that is evident in our schools by getting kids to school every day. Attendance is important. Attendance matters. It's important to not only model, but embed work ethic into how we grow our Hoosiers. And then finally, as a parent, this changed for me as a parent, Byron, civic, financial, and digital literacy. We want to have amazing citizens that leave our school corporations. We also want Hoosiers to understand both financial and digital literacy. And again, this model does that. Next slide, please. Measuring what matters most for students. On the GPS platform, we've identified 18 indicators. And again, those 4 images represent a K-12 continuum where the kindergarten teacher is just as important as the senior government teacher, right? And along that continuum, we're making sure that those 18 indicators are embedded and we're measuring success appropriately to students, just outside of knowledge, skills, experiences. So we are going to signal what we value and what we measure. And I know this as an old coach, and BJ I know as an old player. What gets measured gets done. When you turn the scoreboard on, it's game time, right? And I think what this accountability rule does for us, it gives us a clear vision of how we win together. There's no surprises, there's no hidden secrets. We are going to measure these things that we have collaboratively collected and built, and now let's get these done together. That's how Hoosier students are going to win. Turn to the next slide, please. Again, I won't belittle this, but you can see kind of a crosswalk about the key characteristics that I talked about a moment ago, and then you're like, well, how will they be measured? And right there, clearly, academic mastery includes reading, math, science, and social studies, and obviously language and math have always been a priority, but I'm going to give Dr. Jenner and our team credit about the importance of STEM, right? Those other fields of study that are going to be so invaluable for our great state to continue to thrive and be a beacon of light across the nation. Career and post-secondary readiness, credentials of experiences, or new diploma seals. What a heavy lift, what a credit to the board in front of me to get that across the finish line. I'm so excited about the opportunity for students to kind of choose their pathways and to kind of follow their dreams and aspirations and be ready for what's next after high school. With this content, it's permeable. You can earn an employment seal and still be enrolled. And a lot of our students will earn both. So I think sometimes pathways get a bad rap, like that's all you can do. Absolutely not. You're exposed to different things. You try things on, and you find out what works best for you, but you're ready for what's next after graduation. Communication and collaboration. Currently, we're having some pilots happen, and again, I love those schools, the Coalition of the Willing. I love schools, and I think that's a shift, and Dr. Jenner's led this, is innovation is more important than just compliance. Right? When you find the coalition of willing to figure something out, once somebody figures it out in the crowd, the rest of Indiana follows them. So I appreciate those schools and those school leaders who are being great leaders and taking a chance and piloting those. Work ethic, regular attendance. A good friend of mine says your best ability is availability, right? To be there, get up every day and do your job, do those things. And then finally, civic, financial, and digital literacy. Those are required courses for graduation. We've baked that into our academic mastery. Next slide, please. Again, transparency. These are the 4 pillars or buckets of how this accountability rule was designed. It provides a simple design that's easy for, and here's the good news, it's a complex back end. It's a simple design for the end user. It's user friendly. Provides a simple design that's easy for schools and parents to understand. And again, Dr. Jenner and I have talked about, it doesn't matter what we know, it's very important what parents know. It's very important what parents understand. This design is going to be easy for them to understand. It's student-centered. It encourages schools to focus on improvement for each individual student. Our end size is 1, not 10, not 25, not 2,000. It's a very granular model. Every student will have the opportunity to grow, and it's our responsibility to grow them. Academic and skills focused this model values academic outcomes as well as skills and experiences. It's so much more than just creating a robot who can memorize things. It's about putting those skills, putting that knowledge into motion through their skills and their experiences. And then finally, data is so important, and Mr. Sandlin's going to talk about this. It uses longitudinal data to prioritize what matters most for future success. Next slide, please. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Hoosiers engaged in the process. This bar graph is a representation of the public comment period and stakeholder feedback. We worked so hard, this team worked so hard from October through January. There was an enormous amount of due diligence done. There was no stones left unturned. There was feedback from all corners of the state, from all different perspectives. These bar graphs represent who they are and the information they shared. And that feedback was important. Feedback is a privilege, right? That's how we drive improvement, when we take feedback and input. So again, I appreciate the department being so thorough in receiving all that stakeholder group feedback.
And just really quick on this one, the chart represents those who responded via JOT form. But as mentioned by the few speakers before, and again many other contributors in the room, hours and hours and hours were spent in focus groups, really trying to think through landing things. So this is just a piece of the representation of those who joined and helped. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And to Dr. Jenner's point, there was opportunities in person, JOT form. We wanted your voice to be heard. Next slide, please. You're going to start to see some themes of stakeholder feedback. And there's broad support for elevating a variety of knowledge, skills, and experiences that contribute to a student's future success, including additional indicators aligned to specific pathways. As you evolve, as you move along the K-12 continuum, we want to be a little more specific about what's relevant and what passions you have. And again, the SEALs do that. The importance of prioritizing proficiency, which is always going to be important for us, while also encouraging improvement for all students through academic growth and skill development. Proficiency is our target, but along the way, we're going to grow and we're going to measure that growth and we're going to develop student skills. And then finally, the need for a transparent and simple accountability model that is meaningful to parents, families, and provides schools a clear roadmap and one of my favorite terms, for continuous improvement. And that's a non-negotiable for this team. With that, I want to thank you again for your time, and I'll be up here if you have any questions or if I can add any color to Ron Sandlin. But Ron, I invite you to the podium, and thank you for your work.
Thank you very much, Paul, for the overview. I'll now get into kind of the nuts and bolts of the final model, highlighting specific changes that have occurred since the closure of our last public comment period, January 5th, 2026. Before I do, Todd said he couldn't find his calendar invite for his first meeting. I was able to pull up a Google slide deck, which was version 2 of a prior conceptual framework that initiated these conversations from October 1st of 2024. And that was version 2. And so these conversations have been going on for a very long time with intentionality, with a focus on collaboration, and most importantly, a focus on getting it right for kids. So we'll start with the foundation of the model, which is ensuring cohesion with other policies in the state of Indiana, including our portrait of a graduate, Indiana graduates prepared to succeed. Most of you, if not all, it's been a while as COVID, we're sitting around this table when we approved the indicators for graduates prepared to succeed.
All
great.
were here,
Thank you,
whether
Katie.
they remember or not.
Yeah.
They were here.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. I was like, I think it's all, but I don't want to, you never want to say. And we said then that most states will pass this policy, put it on a shelf, and move forward. But in Indiana, we were going to be committed to measuring these things, to reporting on these things, and to holding schools accountable for ensuring students are making progress against those 5 indicators. And it starts with connecting the continuum K through 12. And so our model continues to be built, as it always has, on 4 grade spans. Grade 3 focused on essential skills in primary literacy. The research is clear. Going into upper elementary and middle school, where we continue to foster that foundational knowledge that's needed regardless of which pathway a student pursues. However, we begin to recognize explicitly the importance of those other skills in the framework or in the portrait. We get into high school and we don't wait until junior year to determine whether or not the kid has passed the test before we start signaling. We start signaling what students can be doing in 9th and 10th grade, and we start valuing and holding schools accountable for ensuring that students are on track and that they're beginning to pursue a meaningful pathway towards a diploma seal. And then at the end of the day, we shift our fundamental focus of our K-12 education model. We recognize that the currency of a high school diploma has been depleted over the past several decades. We recognize that when a kid walks across that graduation stage, they need a credential of currency that is going to allow them, and I'm stealing this phrase, to step up off of that stage versus step down. And so by using this framework, we really prioritize those key building blocks throughout the entire Indiana GPS continuum. The other shift that we've made is really thinking cohesively about the individual student. And it starts with this concept of balancing, yes, academic mastery is absolutely critical, but we can complement academic mastery to really get a full picture of whether or not the student is on track for success. So our model fundamentally consists of two components. One, a foundation in academic excellence and academic mastery as measured by our state's assessment. But we complement that performance with a menu-based option that allows for individual students to demonstrate their individual strengths that measure their knowledge, skills, and experiences they are generating throughout their K-12 career. And again, as it's always been, in grade 3, those options are pretty limited. You got to be able to read. But think of it as an upside-down funnel. As students get older, the options and opportunities they have to demonstrate success expand. I'm going to walk through some of the specific changes that have occurred between round 3, and the final round of feedback. But just for everyone, we have updated the one-pager. So when that's available online, you can see all of the knowledge, skills, and experiences that we are valuing within each grade span. But again, I'm going to walk through the key changes. And again, I think the key here, and I so appreciate all the stakeholders, you all, for coming along this journey, because this is a fundamentally, different way of thinking about accountability, It challenges the traditional mantra of focusing on indicators. And it says we're going to focus on students. And we're going to recognize that there are multiple ways students can demonstrate success. All students need to demonstrate some level of academic mastery.
The one thing I would flag, Ron, before you go on, that one-pager will be linked to our press release for media and folks in the room who are going to try to help us tell the story to Hoosiers, parents, and families. I think that's one of the most comprehensive ways to really explain and understand, also for our educators who will be doing that too. So that will be linked in our press release. Although it's not a one-pager, it's actually a front and back two-pager.
You always get them with the final version, right?
It's front and back. It's front and back.
You keep it on
It's a
one page until
one-pager.
you release the final one, and then it is what it is. And so again, I express my appreciation for all the folks that have come along this journey, because it has been a novel concept. We push the needle with our diplomas, and as a result, on behalf of our students, our families, our schools, our educators, our school leaders, and each and every one of you, we're pushing the needle to make accountability right as well. And it starts with this concept of an N of 1. No longer is an indicator focus encourage schools to dismiss certain students that might be way behind because they might not have an opportunity to demonstrate success on whatever indicator the state has valued. We've fundamentally flipped the paradigm. Every student, a school generates points for every student. If a student is not demonstrating that they are generating and developing knowledge, skills, experiences, and academic mastery, the school will be held accountable for that student. However, the opposite, if a school is demonstrating through all of the different options that we've provided that they are making progress, that they are reaching academic excellence, and that they are demonstrating those knowledge, skills, and experiences we've elevated, the school receives credit for every single student. And this shift is a fundamental shift, and we look forward to ensuring that this information is provided to schools, that they can take action on this information. And I'm most proud, because this is a new concept, of the comments we heard earlier that talk about the simplicity and transparency of the model. We've digested a complex system into something that, Todd, while yes, you and I might be math folks and not everybody might get the math, but they understand what they need to do to succeed. And that's what's critical, because that's when we can make decisions that move the needle for our students. So we'll get into the updates to the final rule. I'm going to go through one by one of key changes from the last time I stood in front of you and presented on the model, right? As Dr. Jenner mentioned in January, the feedback we received from October to January really encouraged us, and we took the opportunity to step back, process, and listen to it all. The knee-jerk thing to do would have been to take action right away, even though we had just closed a comment session where we received a groundswell of additional comments. We took the time, we were deliberate, and what you'll see here is the manifestation of those conversations over the past 2 months. The first is elevating the importance of primary literacy in grade 3, but recognizing that students who are new to our country also can demonstrate progress on WIDA. What this model does is it allows a newcomer student, a student who's been in the country for fewer than 2 years, to earn some points for passing WIDA, not as many points as they would have earned if they passed iRead, as they progress on that journey. This policy aligns with other state policies associated with iRead retention, and we believe that it is a step forward for schools so that they can focus on the students' most pressing needs as they work towards overall academic mastery and primary literacy. The next shift reinforces our focus on academic mastery. We know that there is a foundational set of knowledge that is necessary for a student to achieve long-term. And historically, in prior models, and what we've tried to address in this model, is that sometimes we were elevating progress of students and communicating to families that their student was making tremendous progress when they really were not on track to ever meet the bar. And it's important that we communicate to each and every community, to each and every family, the difference and distinction between academic mastery and proficiency and making progress towards that proficient cut score. So we've adjusted the model to reflect this critical important communication communication priority, and that is reflected in the final point tables that you'll see here towards the end of the presentation. But I will say, on that note, a proficient student will always earn more points or as many points as a student who is not proficient. That's how we've adjusted that model to be explicit. That way we're prioritizing and really elevating those students who are meeting our rigorous cut score in the state of Indiana, one of the most rigorous in the country. The next one is a new indicator in middle school, and it's on my notes, and I meant to say this earlier. But many of these changes, again, are helping us create additional cohesion so that our message to schools is very clear, so that we eliminate tension that pulls schools in two different directions when we talk about diplomas and accountability, right? And this is a key step towards that. As you know, 7th grade was always an interesting grade level in this accountability model. No model is perfect, every model has holes. And so 7th grade had been a hole that was flagged by a lot of our stakeholders. They don't have the subject-specific iLearn for students to demonstrate success. And it's not really appropriate every time for every 7th grader to be taking high school credit. And so what we heard very clearly from our partners in the field was that you are creating tension for us. You are making it so that my only option for this student to demonstrate skills is to enroll them in a high school course that may or may not be appropriate for where they are. Now, we're going to make that decision locally, but we would really appreciate it if you didn't put that tension on us. And so we got to work, and we considered a lot of ideas. And where we landed is an idea that we believe most aligns to Indiana GPS, most aligns to connecting that K-12 continuum, which is incorporating the parents into this process by allowing students to generate success indicator by completing their graduation plan by the end of 7th grade and having a parent endorsement. State law already requires parent consultation. It does not require an endorsement. So this accountability model goes one step beyond state law, right? To really incentivize and encourage the level of parent engagement beyond just a consultation to an actual affirmation of their student's plan. Can't stress enough that these grad plans are living documents. But if we want a student to begin taking high school credit in 8th grade, we want that high school credit to be intentional. And so those conversations need to start happening in 7th grade. And elevating this model helps us connect the dots, as well as ensures that our students are making intentional decisions beginning in 8th grade.
Yeah, I just want to exclamation point what you just said. A graduation plan is a living document. And something that Paul Ketchum shared is we've designed our high school paths to be very permeable, to allow students to really explore and maximize their outcomes ahead. The graduation plan and getting the ensuring that parents and families really understand what kids' opportunities are in Indiana is something that we flagged. We believe we can keep improving there. Certain regions of the state, certain districts are a little bit better than others in terms of where parents are fully aware of Indiana College Core and all the CTE paths, et cetera, et cetera. But we believe that this is a way to improve at scale. And then also, Ron, to put an exclamation point behind something you said. I was assistant principal at a middle school for a period of time. Then I was at a high school. Like many educators, we do all the things. And, at a middle school, I observed pretty quickly if students were not hyper aware of taking a higher level math or science in 8th grade, that decision point from 7th to 8th grade would follow them forever. And so this is such an opportunity for us to really encourage the conversations that need to be happening at home so that a student, again, can best set themselves up on their unique path ahead.
Yeah, and I think this is important because when you see this graduation plan, 7th grade, folks might not have been having these conversations at this point. And I think it's important to reiterate, the design of this model is this is a success indicator. It is a way for a school to demonstrate success of their students. It is not a way for us to punish schools for not doing it, right? That's the elegance of this model. This is an opportunity for schools to generate points. It's not a consequence if they do not. And so we felt that this was a great opportunity that connects a lot of dots within our system.
And it also connects what we're going to hear here shortly with the high school model. And I think the states that are succeeding in the space of really making high school as valuable as possible for students are now contemplating, well, what does middle school look like? I mean, how do we really shape that to set students up? So it's intended to be a complement to, again, our work ahead.
That's right. Thank you, Katie. Dr. Jenner.
Katie.
I know.
Everybody in here calls me Katie. It's great. That's what I prefer.
Sorry. So the next change is a small change, something that we've grappled with a ton. Accountability models are really easy to design for 90%. But we said all kids. And so we have to take the time, have the conversations about how every student appears in our model. And I guarantee we grappled with all kinds of options in this space. But in order to include all of our students who take the alternate assessment, right, where the success indicators might not always apply every single time, the model now includes them as their IM test score exclusively, which they've always been assessed on, which has always been how accountability has operated. The key shift is IM historically has been a pass-fail. We've adjusted that to reflect our scaffolding of academic mastery. So a student who takes the alternate assessment, and I remind you, this is federally required without consequence to be fewer than 1% of the students in the state who we're talking about. Proficient is 100 points. Approaching proficient is 75 points. So those students and the schools are generating points for those students for focusing on their unique needs. It is really challenging for us to develop success indicators that reflect the unique needs of those students. And so we decided to focus on the one indicator that they all have historically taken, that the schools have historically focused on, so that we don't disrupt the services that are being provided to those students right now, but we also make sure that their progress and their performance is being included and incorporated in the model. Shifting over to high school. This concept came to us directly from public comment, a specific public comment. The importance of elevating civic literacy. We said civic literacy is one of our 5 characteristics, And we have a United States government end-of-course assessment in the state of Indiana right now. It is offered free to every school after a student takes the U.S. government course. As you all know, U.S. government is a required course in our base diploma, so every student will take that course if they intend to graduate. And this now offers the opportunity for that student to demonstrate mastery on the existing optional United States government I-Learn end-of-course assessment. I'm going to say 2 words again, just to reemphasize, existing and optional. That if they pass that assessment, that demonstrates a success indicator against our accountability model and aligned to the Indiana GPS. I think it goes without saying, Indiana, the United States of America, continues to focus on building a future citizenry that is connected, knowledgeable, and understands how our system works, what makes it special, and what makes it tick. And this is another way for us to elevate that critical characteristic of civic literacy using existing tools. Optional and existing. There is no consequence if a student does not pass, but if a student does demonstrate mastery, right, they earn that success indicator. This will also allow us to give feedback to schools. We are now going to elevate the performance on this assessment so we can have conversations about where schools are excelling in this space and how we can spread those skills, how we can spread those practices across the state to ensure that we're building civic literacy across the state of Indiana. The next 2 changes, I would say, are closely connected to our conversations with the United States Department of Education with our waiver. And I'll take a quick point here to just emphasize and elevate the partnership, the sense of collaboration, and working to get to yes that we've experienced at every step of the way in engaging with their department. This goes from folks who I engage with on the daily, who are in the X's and O's, who are in the math, Todd, right, to the folks who, the senior leadership of the organization. When Dr. Jenner is on the call talking high-level philosophical approach, every step of the way. It has been about kids, it has been about flexibility, and it's been about getting to yes. And these 2 shifts reflect ways that we can both collectively get to yes. The first is the graduation cohort. So as you all know, in the initial proposal, we did not have a standalone grad rate indicator. Graduation rate was included as a penalty. But the reality is, an N of 1 means every single student. And what they flagged for us and what we reflected upon was, if those 10% of students who do not graduate appear nowhere in the model for 12th grade, they don't generate points for any success indicators, right? Are we really truly focusing on every single student? So in order to make sure that schools are held accountable, even for that last 10%, or for all students in the cohort, if you will, we've pulled out graduation rate. And it is going to reflect 10% of the school's grade 12 score. So it is a standalone indicator using the federal calculation so that we can align with the federal government and get and receive a waiver. It is a 10% of your grade 12 score as a standalone indicator, grad rate. The other shift, again, was elevating that commitment to academic mastery in the high school space. Currently, our assessment is the SAT. I think no one here would believe that, well, let's just say this. SAT is a clear indicator of preparedness for post-secondary, specifically 4-year enrollment. However, and we still assess everyone. However, we want to make sure that schools continue to receive encouragement in the model to push students academically, no matter which path they choose. Because I think when we go back to our diploma requirements, right, it's not a choice of college or workforce, right? Everything in our model, in our diploma, is college. Almost all of our credentials are post-secondary credentials, right? Coming out of Ivy Tech or other partners around the state. So this idea of does a kid go to post-secondary college or not is really not the question. Is does the kid spend 4 years in a college, or do they complete a shorter term certificate and go into the workforce? So if those students are going to be successful regardless of the path, we want to make sure that there's encouragement in the model for schools to continue to push students academically. So we've pulled out the state assessment, which is currently the SAT. It will reflect 10% of the grade 12 score. So if you think about that, and this is getting weedy just for a second, but I want to emphasize this. 10% of grade 12, for most high schools, that's going to then average with the grade 10, right? So you can see that the diploma seals will continue to lead the way, and that work in 9th grade will continue to play a critical role. This is why I'm using the term encourage schools, not pressure schools, because we've been very intentional into this design to eliminate pulling schools in two different directions. And we want to make sure that this is an encouragement and not a pressure. And we believe that we've struck that balance appropriately while also maintaining a focus on this critical component of academic mastery. It is literally a separate section of our model.
Yeah, I know we have some national media in here. I recognize a few, so this will probably be asked later, but I'll just tell everyone. We intentionally paused our federal waiver process as we were working through the final touches in our accountability model. And I will double down on what Ron just said. The U.S. Department of Education has been fantastic to work with. They have hopped on calls with us at all hours. I've flown to D.C., had meetings with their team. They have been excellent. We will get our waiver landed and ready. And the fact that we're doing this accountability work simultaneously as we're working on our waiver has been a huge advantage to Indiana, because they, in addition to stakeholders in Indiana pushing us on some things, they have also pushed us on some things. Have you thought about this? What about this? So a lot of people think, policy work is threading the needle. We've had like multiple pieces of yarn. We're like threading an Afghan, I feel like, at this point. I don't know that you use thread in Afghan. I don't crochet, but whatever. But I just wanted to flag, it has been, while difficult at times, because it has taken a while, it has been incredibly valuable for our state to have the push and pull and partnership from within Indiana as well as with the U.S. Department of Education and their team. So huge thank you to them. And we will unpause our waiver timeline shortly. I'm not sure what day we will, but as soon as we do, we will let you know. Thank you, Ron. And the reason I say that is because, for those of you not in the weeds, once we apply for a waiver as a state, the federal has 120 days to get back to us. So we strategically paused in order to, again, get this at the best place, and then we'll unpause. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, of course. And so the final shift that I'll talk about before wrapping up with some summary slides is a result of those last two shifts. So we've pulled the SAT out as a standalone indicator to encourage continued focus. As a result, we've pulled the SAT off of the list of success indicators, right? ACT is still on that line, so a student can still additionally take the ACT. And we've also added an assessment, the classical learning test. Classical learning test was just passed in law that our state colleges and universities have to treat that to the extent they treat any assessment as a college entrance requirement. They must allow the classical learning test to also serve in that stead. So if they require SAT as an admission requirement, they have to also allow classical learning tests to fit in there. So again, this is not offered by many schools right now, but we do know that the General Assembly is focused on it, and there are schools that are focused on this classical education model that would like to offer this assessment. And so our model, again, as an option in that college entrance exam row, will give those students an opportunity to earn a success indicator. It is not and. It is either or, right? You can only earn this one time. So we're not encouraging kids to take every single test they absolutely can. And then I'll also flag, because I missed this, Dr. Ernest, the U.S. government assessment, a single administration. There is no retest. So you take it at the end of U.S. government. That is your shot. We're not going to chase scores on that assessment either for accountability purposes. And I think the way our model allows that is because we don't punish schools if they don't pass, right? So I will go through some quick student examples just so folks understand how the model works generally. So we have a third grade student, and this student on their academic mastery, they were approaching proficient on the math I learned. They would receive a score both for math and ELA, so this is their math score. In addition, so that puts them in the middle row. In addition, they passed iRead and they met an additional success indicator. There's a lot of options on that list, but they met an additional success indicator. That student, the school would generate 95 points for that student.
Can I pause you?
Yes.
our amazing team, thank you, Courtney and Scott, who ran it over. We have the one pager that I told you would be really helpful. It'll probably be helpful in this exercise. So we're going to pass that around. Ron is going to go through the K-3 example, a 4-8 example, but you will see what he's referring to when you see the various options, if you will, that students have. So we'll pass those out right now. Keep going.
Thank you. And then so a school's letter grade is the average of all the points the school generates for their student success. Third grade is unique. As you all know, it continues to be unique because in most instances, unless a student passes iRead, there are no other options for them. So we're signaling schools very clearly. Your iLearn performance matters and your reading proficiency matters. And if you can get those two things locked in, earning additional success indicators come into play. That is unique in third grade because of the research-based importance of primary literacy. When we get to grades 4 through 8, this table reflects the updated points to ensure our focus on academic mastery and to ensure that our students are helping students, to ensure that our schools that are helping students reach proficiency are receiving the maximum amount of points, while also encouraging them to continue to support those students, right? We don't want to let the pedal off the gas just because the student has reached proficiency. And so what you see there are the updated point totals between the prior versions. That is the final table. And we're using an example student who was approaching proficient on math again. Again, this student would generate a score for math and ELA. This student made accelerated academic progress. This student made 1 year, you can see they've completed 3 success indicators off the list. And so they are all the way on the right, which is 90 points. So again, the school would generate 90 points for this student. I think this is a really important point to flag the key shift in our model. In the past, this student would not have received credit for anything other than their iLearn performance, whether that be proficiency or growth. That's the only thing that mattered. So that is the only thing we were pressuring schools to focus on. Going around school to school, I know they're building MTSS models, right? I know they're writing individual learning plans for kids. I know the schools are focused on kids. But I also know that our past accountability model was focused on a test. And I believe that we've successfully balanced a focus on academic mastery where it matters the most, but also ensuring that as they work with those students that are behind on those individual learning plans, as those students start to get back on track as demonstrated by the list of success indicators on that page, that school will generate additional points. Now, they're not going to be an A, right? But it encourages them to focus on those strategies that they're already implementing, that our past system has created tension. Get to grade 10. And then again, finally, all students in the school averaged get your grade 4 through 8 score. Jump to a grade 9, 10 example. Again, this is a student who didn't quite get to all 3 success indicators, right? But they still demonstrated a lot of success. They were on track at the end of 9th grade, our key outcome for our grade 10 table. They regularly come to school and they've taken advanced CTE courses, which means they've taken at least 6 credits of CTE by the end of 10th grade, one of which has to be an advanced credit. So it can't just be random acts of CTE. You can explore a little bit, but you have to have started a pathway. Because if you don't start that concentrator sequence by the end of 10th grade, the likelihood of you become a completer goes down tremendously unless you're in a specialized program. There are specialized programs that get all this done in 1 year. But those are specialized programs, right? We're building a model that tries to encourage action statewide. So this student would generate, the school would generate 85 points for this student. Again, that score would be elevated. For grade 10, there is just 1 score. There is no ELA in math. There's just 1 score for grade 10. Same with grade 12. And as you see here is the alignment to our diploma seals. So even though this student's score would be complemented with their graduation status, which this kid graduated because they earned a diploma, and their SAT score, right, the majority of the points the school generates will be from this success table. And here we have a student who's on the honors enrollment seal track. They took college and career coursework, which is 6 credits. That is an existing graduation pathway. They went beyond their diploma and earned a credential of value. So again, this model goes beyond the existing expectations to really push students. And they're actively engaged in school. And so this student, right, they didn't quite get to that Honors Plus seal. We want to encourage the completion of the work-based learning. We want to encourage the completion of the Plus seal. But at the end of the day, they're still generating 90 points. The school's still generating 90 points for this particular outcome, which, as we know, would be an A. Total all those points up across all your kids in your cohort. Students who do not graduate are not put on the table. They are included in the grad rate metric as a dropout, right? So we did not change that policy, so we're not having a bunch of zeros on here. And then you average that up. And then to calculate the school's overall grade, whichever grade spans they have a score, you average those weighted by the number of kids that are in the grade span. So if it's a K-12 school, you're going to find out how many third graders, how many 4th through 8th, how many 10th, how many 12th, and you're going to average those total scores weighted by the number of kids. It's a pretty simple process. The math on the back end is not easy, but it's pretty simple when you just explain it without going into the numbers.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First, so often when we look at how schools or a state is doing, we do very simple math where we say, let's take the denominator, which is all the kids. Let's look at the numerator, which is what happened with that particular outcome. What happens in reality is then we miss a lot of kids who maybe didn't hit that particular outcome. In Indiana, what we really have strived together to do is understand the student in their entirety, as Ron just described. I mean, that student, maybe they mastered mathematics, maybe they're struggling still a bit in ELA, we need to know that. Maybe they're struggling to get to school, which we know is a lead indicator in if they're gonna perform. Maybe they have mastered social studies or science. Maybe they're taking advanced coursework, so they're pushing. But the N is one conversation is we have to know every single child in its entirety so that they don't get washed, which is not a good thing, in the numerator denominator simple math that we have for so long been doing. I think talking to the old constructors of the past accountability model in Indiana, this was always a dream to do something like this. The data systems were not robust enough to do, and now they are. So we're kind of embarking on a brand new journey, again, and looking at every single child as N is one and will be counted. We will understand where every child is in their entirety.
And you bring up a great point that I haven't had a chance to flag, and I stand here at the microphone, but the data, for example, John Keller, Tyler Brown, I mean, our team is just insane. I'm regularly asked on calls, how are you able to do all this? And I say it's because John Keller built something called a state longitudinal data system. Don't ask me what that is. And I'm sure John would say there was a lot of people who built it, but as far as I'm concerned, he built it in his tool shop. And I think that's just one example of how much has gone into this work, even before we started talking about this work. And I think that's just really, it just makes Indiana super special. So everybody asks me, why do you live in Indiana? This is why.
Come on.
This is why. I'm from Florida,
so many
Katie.
reasons.
I'm from Florida, Katie, so that everybody goes to the weather. Man, okay. So to wrap us up, I want to talk about implementation. We recognize this model is, you all are considering this model in March of the school year for which schools will be evaluated. Now, we believe we've been pretty transparent along the way. Schools understood. Schools got the signals. They know what they should be working towards. But at the end of the day, the model was fluid until you all approve. And so in recognition of that, the 25-26 school year letter grades will be considered a year zero. That has never been done before. What that means is it will not count towards any particular timeline of anything. It is a year zero for us to communicate where you are. Letter grades will be released, right? Data will be shared. But beyond reacting and acting upon that information, right? That is the only expectation. That is our recommendation. Doing this and building a transparent tool on the back end that gets the information to schools to elevate insights will ensure that they have time to react before any consequences emerge from the model. It'll also allow us to recognize those schools that are doing excellent work and elevate them as well, right? So there's two sides of getting the information and being transparent. Again, we heard from around the country, honestly, that when you launch a new model, having a transition plan is almost essential. There are multiple options with it for a transition plan. We considered multiple, and we landed on a year 0 plus a slightly adjusted a scale score, if you will. So as I mentioned, this is the year 0 slide. That'll be for 25, 26. During the 26, 27 school year, those grades will now count towards any timelines that may emerge in the future. And then jumping down to this slide here, we are starting, and the rule, just a quick technicality, the rule is slightly different. The rule starts with an 85 to 100 is an A. And we did that to allow schools time, right, to our best schools to receive the best letter grades as they work in subsequent years to improve, right? If at any year, starting in 25, 26, right, 25% of our schools are A's, it ticks up 2.5 points, right? So if as schools improve, the model catches up and becomes more rigorous until we land on 90 to 100. We expect that to happen within 2 or 3 years. However, the model no longer has that time cap. The final rule does not have a time cap. So we will monitor that, right? And if folks aren't improving, that means we need to probably support. But the model will shift as our schools shift. Again, recognizing the importance of a transition period. So 2 things about that transition period. One is a year 0, 0 consequences on 25, 26, information only, but we will release letter grades. In addition to that, those letter grades will be based on an 85 to 100 is an A scale. As we move forward, we will bump that scale up as schools improve. This is a strategy that we stole from other states, right? And there were multiple options. This is a strategy we stole from other states. And I'm going to be super clear here is this is something we haven't done in the past. And it's historically resulted in hold harmless situations, right? We didn't have a transition plan when we've changed the model the past 2 times. And as a result, we kind of had to have something put into place via legislation. So this is why we're doing this work proactively. It is informed by past experience. We've run the data a ton of times. We believe this is a fair and efficient, fair and effective approach to making this happen. And again, talk about it here, continuous improvement. We will continue to support schools, and in doing so, as I get to my final slides here, we'll move quicker through my notes. The next step, in addition to the 1-pager in the presentation, is to really start getting information in the hands of schools, because schools are going to start receiving performance data even before school letter grades come out. For example, we certify attendance in July. So schools will know which kids met their attendance benchmark in July, right? And so we need to get information to schools. That's number 1. Then we'll transition to getting information to parents. Now, it doesn't mean we'll leave parents off the table right now, right? It's a sliding scale where everybody's getting support. As we get closer to releasing the letter grades, our support for parents will accelerate so that when those letter grades hit the community, hit the public, parents will have a way to digest and process that information. They'll have a language to process and understand what the letter grade means. So we're immediately, how do we get information out to schools? That's definitions, data analysis tools, those types of things. And then we'll shift into a more parent focus as we get closer to the fall when letter grades are released. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Paul just for some closing remarks. My last statement will be quick to say thank you. It's been a journey, and every time I've engaged with each and every one of you, like everybody else, it's been a productive conversation that's going to move the needle for kids. So thank you all very much.
Ron, fantastic job. Thank you very much. Again, let me put my school leader hat on. I am very thankful for this year 0 concept. Here's what that does. That level sets. If you're not happy where you're at, how do you get better next year? And maybe more importantly, if you're where you're at today and there's not continuous improvement, you won't be there tomorrow, right? So I do appreciate the model. Again, I just want to express my sincere gratitude as Dr. Jenner makes his recommendation to you for your investment. I know we spent a lot of time together on Zoom calls, so I appreciate you, appreciate the department. And again, I truly believe this is going to be the model that's replicated across our nation for schools to grow. So thank you. Dr. Jenner?
Thank you, Paul. And now I'll open it up for any board comments or discussion. BJ?
I got to think.
Maybe lean in because it's used to my voice,
Okay.
which is loud.
I've been on the sport a long time, and I understand what a heavy lift this was. So I appreciate it as a board member and as a teacher, but I think the thing I appreciate the most is as a parent. I have 2 sons, different kids completely. Both great, but different kids. And this, when you talk about an in size of 1, we've never had that before. One of my sons was celebrated and told that they had academic mastery in the old model, one was not. In this model, I think it recognizes how different and diverse academic mastery can look. The in count of 1 to me, when you talk about, you said this in October, I didn't know if I didn't know how we were going to get there. But to me, that's the most exciting part of this is every single student is recognized, every single student is celebrated. I'm not going to quote Paul here because I'll mess this up, but I love, it goes, what you said there ties so closely with what my buddy here to the right always says, be better tomorrow than you were today. And that's all they ever ask. So that is what this is. And if you're not getting better, you're not going to be in the same place. Like that in size of 1 and the encouragement, it's just, Ron said the word opportunity so many times, that is what this is. And then Dr. Butt said, this is an opportunity to get better with a plan tied to that. This isn't a gotcha system. Like we literally have laid out a plan. We all want the same thing. We want great things for our students. This is a plan that allows you to get to that with support from us. And I could not be prouder of this work. I know that you all were so humble. Katie, Ron, Paul, David, everyone. But this has been amazing work. I'm honored to have been a very, very, very small part of it, but really, really, really good work. Good job.
Thank you, BJ. Pat.
I appreciate the fact we've tied our other systems in, right? We put such a focus on literacy and iRead 3, and now we can see it in accountability. I appreciate the fact that parents are going to be able to look at this and understand where their schools are at. And people from out of state who are moving to the state of Indiana and they're looking at schools of where they want to put their son or daughter, they're going to be able to look at this and say, they started, but wow, look at them improving. Or, wow, that's the school I want to go to, look where they're at today. And tying this in with our diploma, which was, you know, a huge lift from this board and your staff, that's why this all makes sense. Because this is a common sense accountability plan. And it's what the state of Indiana needs and what many states will follow. And congratulations to you and your team to get it to this.
Thank you. So long as we all vote yes, we'll take that. Congratulations. Thank you, Pat. Katie Moat.
Thank you, Dr. Jenner. Building on what both BJ and Pat just said, I want to also pull the thread that we could not be here if Dr. Jenner and her team did not do the foundational work and Dr. Keller as the tip of the spear for that to get the data in order. You cannot do this next level work unless you invest in that infrastructure, which is less headline worthy and less interesting, but that is the foundational work that this team did and the transparency into those 18 indicators to enable continuous improvement where you're just saying the words without the actual capability to do it. So we're here at the top of the mountain, right, watching the ball go out of the park, but those are all of the things that have happened over the past decade that have enabled us to be here, more importantly, in the past few years under Dr. Jenner's leadership. Switching hats as a mom, echoing BJ's comments, I also have 2 children, like many of the other people in the audience, that are really, really different people. And this will make sure that I, as a mom, as a mother of a current 7th grader and a high school senior, for my 7th grade son, I am so excited about this grad plan and the parent endorsement. And while I hear the department that it is optional, as a mom, I would say to you, what a missed opportunity if you didn't do that for me and my son. And so I just want to encourage the schools, as I know you'll already do because it's the right thing, to make sure that we are embracing that and running towards that, because that will make sure that those course choices in 9th and 10th grade ring true, and we have good guidance and the parents understand the permeability. So excited to see that empowerment move forward. So just again, thank you to the team, not only for today, but for everything under the ocean that we didn't see or that was happening to lead us to this moment. Really exciting.
Thank you, Katie. Scott.
Yeah, well, first of all, yes, well, +1 to everything you all said. But also, really dive in on the alignment piece. I get a chance to talk with people around the country a lot, and states like, well, how can we do what Indiana does? It's like, well, you can't just do random things, right? If you go all the way back to streamlining standards, redoing our assessments, the through-year assessments, allowing second grade students to take iRead so we get feedback right away, the diploma, the legislature incentivizing the seals, right? I mean, all of that lines up, and now kind of the icing on top is now we have an accountability system that actually says to schools, if you do the right things with all these other things, you'll get a really good score, right? And I think it also allows all schools to do well, right? A lot of accountability systems around the country are so tightly tied to demographics, right? If you have a lot of low-income students, right, you can almost project what the scores are going to be based on who the students are. And this allows schools to work with all students and score well, no matter their background, no matter their preparation coming into you. So I think, again, there will always be people who will criticize or who will look at it and go, well, what about this gets, of all the ones around the country, this gets the closest, and it puts a capstone on all the other work that's been done. Like, this is hard stuff. This is not something you and your team dreamed up in the last couple of years. Like, this is a continuation. And again, thanks to the rest of the board members, thanks to everybody who's been part of this, and especially to your team, who's looked at this as a journey, not as a bunch of discrete actions. So really, really well done. And I think it does make it easier for schools now to say, we know what the pathway is, students know what their pathways are, and we know how to do well on this. So kudos to all. Really, really, really well done.
Thank you, Scott. Erica.
I'd like to say really thank you to Ron and the team. I know there are so many areas of life that pushback is unwelcomed, but that has not been the experience working with everyone. Just as one that wears and has worn all the hats of education, as a parent, as an administrator, as a teacher, as a special education teacher, the insides of one is so important, because if there's a crack, students with special needs tend to find them. And it's been really tedious to try to get everyone to see every student, and all of the work that this department has done to make sure that every student counts, that the resources that are allocated to schools, every student gets to benefit, because now every student matters, really has been a beautiful experience to just see this coming together, if it's all approved, as Katie would say, Dr. Jenner. I just really appreciate all of the work that you guys have done, and really how transparent you've been. Like Ron mentioned, one comment made changes, just one comment that one person made. And so that I love to hear things like that. And it just should encourage others that maybe have things that they want to say, that maybe they feel like, if I say something, will I be heard? Will it even matter? It will matter. And we want to encourage you all to participate and be a part of the process, because your voice will be heard.
I'd say, if you're ready for a motion, I love a motion.
Katie always gets really nervous when I make a motion. This is a little long. David helped me, so please no. The Indiana Constitution empowers the Indiana General Assembly to establish educational policy for the state of Indiana. Indiana Code -20-31-3-1 provides the legislature may delegate its educational policy authority to the Indiana State Board of Education to establish education policies and procedures. That the rule up for adoption today was promulgated under House Enrolled Act 1498, 2025, directing the board to develop a new methodology for assigning school performance ratings and adopt a rule necessary to implement the factors established by the legislature. The board has considered its duties under the Indiana Constitution, Article 8, Section 1, specifically to assure that the rule balances the factors emphasized by the legislature with the duty to encourage moral, civic, intellectual, and scientific improvements as part of a general and uniform system of schools equally open to all. The LSA 25-370, following extensive public comment and revisions, accomplishes that goal. The goal of the legislature was promulgated in consideration with the board's duties under the Indiana Constitution and shall be adopted as a final rule of this board. I hereby make a motion that the board adopts LSA 25-370 as its final rule and direct the department to take all necessary steps to obtain approvals and final publication.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's do a roll call on this one. I'm putting all the pressure on all the people. No, I'm kidding. I just think this is an important one. This is a big one.
Mr. Bess,
Absolutely yes.
Ms. DeLosa,
Yes.
Mr. Durham,
Yes.
Dr. Ernest,
Yes.
Ms. Hamill,
Yes.
Mr. Gastineau,
Yes.
Mr. Mapes,
Yes.
Ms. Moat,
Yes.
Ms. Rentschler,
Yes.
Mr. Watts,
Yes.
Dr. Jenner.
Yes, we are unanimously approved. Congratulations. All right, it is now my honor to introduce, and I'm looking, I think I know who I'm introducing. Oh, there she is. Okay, I was like, I think I know who I'm introducing. The CEO of XQ, Ruslan Ali, is here today to kick off their nationwide tour, really trying to empower, inspire the country to do everything possible to bring relevance and connection to kids in high school. So Ruslan and team, we are thrilled to welcome you and are eager to hear about the report on Indiana and more broadly for our country. Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I might have you pull your mic as well.
Sure.
My voice calibrates everyone's, unfortunately, so speak loud.
Heroes tend to do that. Secretary Jenner, board members, educators, it is an honor and privilege to be here. And I thank you for the seriousness with which you are approaching the future of high school in Indiana. Here and across the country, something is becoming increasingly clear. The states that move first to modernize high schools will have the strongest economies and the strongest communities a decade from now. That's because the future of high school is not just education policy. It is workforce policy, it is competitiveness policy, it is opportunity policy. Because high school is not the end of childhood, it is the bridge to adulthood, where young people decide who they are and whether the future has a place for them. If we get it right, it is a launch pad. If we get it wrong, it becomes a sorting mechanism. Thanks to the leadership in this room and across this state, Indiana is not standing still. It is a national model. You would have received the XQ National Report and bespoke Indiana specific report. In XQ's analysis of 10 policy actions that most accelerate transformation. Indiana is a national leader cited in the report, having already met 6. Among them, you were early in redefining credit around demonstrated proficiency rather than seat time, reinforced by the Innovate Flexibility Guide and pilots of next-gen assessments that will measure real mastery. You launched Indiana pre-admissions, creating direct pathways from high school into higher education, reducing friction at one of the most consequential transition points in a young person's life. You built high-quality framework for work-based learning and youth apprenticeships, ensuring students can earn credit for meaningful learning beyond the classroom. And under Secretary Jenner's unified oversight of K-12 and higher education, Indiana has something that many states lack, but is so hugely important: alignment across the full education pipeline. That is structural movement, and it matters. because 62% of the 378,000 jobs that open each year in Indiana will require education beyond high school. Yet only 26% of seniors graduate ready for college-level math, and just over half do so for English. The gap is not about student potential, it's about system design. It is about state actions that enable districts and schools to meet today's unprecedented challenges. The XQ Indiana report identifies clear opportunities to accelerate your leadership. Expanding community-led high school redesign to reach each and every Indiana student, empowering students, families, educators, employers to help shape schools. Continue scaling competency-based learning statewide, pairing flexibility with strong implementation support so that mastery of knowledge and skills is consistent, not optional. Continue to focus on diplomas that signal real readiness for college and the workforce by ensuring high-quality learning and work-based experiences for your high school students. And make mastery visible through developing next-gen assessments and transcripts that reflect knowledge and skills. The durable competencies like critical thinking, collaboration, adaptability, problem solving. Now, of course, you know this. Policy sets direction. It is implementation that delivers outcomes. And culture sustains transformation. The students and educators you are about to hear from, including leaders and students from Purdue Polytechnic high schools, are proof positive that when design changes, student outcomes change. Indiana has momentum. You have alignment. You have proof points. States have always been the laboratories of American progress. When states lead with clarity and courage, the nation follows. What Indiana chooses to do in this moment will not only drive outcomes for Indiana students, it will define what modern high school can look like across the country. The opportunity now is to build on the leadership already underway here, ensuring that every Indiana student graduates from high school prepared to contribute, to lead, and to thrive in the future that Indiana is building. Secretary Jenner, members of this board, your efforts set a national example. It is generational work. And at XQ, we are proud to stand alongside you in this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Since middle school, every teacher told me that high school would be hard. That high school is not like middle school. And yes, they were right. High school isn't just a place where you go to learn numbers, make friends, and hope you all stay friends forever. High school is more serious. You go to high school to make real meaningful connections. You go to high school to see a glimpse of what awaits you when you leave these safe walls. My name is Makis, I'm a junior, and today I'm here representing PPHS, Purdue Polytechnic High School. I come from Puerto Rico, and at first it wasn't easy. Being in a new country with a different language and a different culture was very challenging, but my teachers were kind, patient, and persistent with me. They didn't leave me behind. In fact, they all came together, not to drag me along, but to help me get on my feet so I could walk with them. Was I still scraping by? Yes, absolutely. But I was the one doing it. No one else was getting it done for me. I wasn't failing. I was still walking forward. And thanks to everyone around me, I didn't fall behind. What I love about PPHS is that it doesn't just prepare you for college. It prepares you for life. For example, a few months ago, I had the opportunity to intern at a middle school as a teacher's assistant. I helped teachers with everything and anything they needed support with. Through this experience, I sharpened my skills. I learned how to share ideas as a high schooler. It wasn't too long ago when I was in middle school. And in my opinion, there's no one better to help improve a system than someone who has or is going through it. I gave feedback to the teacher and helped her improve in the way that she taught the kids. I also built empathy. As an intern, I learned how to help others. I went around asking the kids if they needed any help, and if they did, I would help them. And finally, I strengthened my communication skills. The great part about this entire experience is that although I don't plan on becoming a teacher, I actually plan to go to trade school. I still found value in this experience, and I learned a lot. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, because school isn't just about doing a class project for 100 points. This is about changing the lives of possibly millions of people who will go to school after us. Today, we have the power to reshape how we are taught in our schools. We here today are the voices for the kids who can't speak up, and it's our responsibility to make sure the way that they are taught prepares them for the real world. I'm grateful for the teachers who believe in me, the friends who encourage me, and the opportunities that push me out of my comfort zone. Because of this school, I don't just see where I am now, I see where I want to go next.
Great job.
Thank you, everyone.
Great job.
Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Jamie Febres, and I'm in 11th grade. I'm here representing Purdue Polytechnic High School. When I came to the United States from Puerto Rico in 2018, I didn't feel like I belonged here. Everything was different, the language, the culture, and the school system. At first, it was difficult to understand people and express myself the way I wanted to. One of the biggest ways Purdue has helped me grow is by helping me overcome my social anxiety. I used to be really nervous of speaking in front of people, and class presentations were something I feared. At PPHS, we do presentations often, which forced me out of my comfort zone. At first, it was uncomfortable and I would overthink everything, but over time, I became more confident. Each presentation helped me find my voice a little more. Now, even though I still get nervous, I know I'm capable of standing up and speaking in front of others. Another experience that really helped change that for me started in a film class at school. We were doing small projects, just short video clips, and school provided me with cameras. My best friend and I decided to bring the cameras to a football game and start taking pictures. What started as something fun quickly became something we kept doing. From freshman year to sophomore year to now my junior year, we continued taking pictures at games and school events. Through photography, I've learned a lot about communication and confidence. Sometimes players want a specific photo, so we have to talk with them, figure out what they're looking for, and plan the shot together. We've also done interviews with athletes, which taught me how to ask questions, listen, and to work with others. They showed me that even if you start small, with hard work and consistency, you can grow into something more. My journey hasn't always been easy, but every challenge has shaped me into the person I am today, and I'm still growing. Experiences like that showed me that learning in high school can be more than just sitting in a classroom. It can help you build real skills like communication, creativity, and problem solving. Because of opportunities like this, I feel much more confident about my future after high school. I hope to attend Purdue University. My experience showed that anything can happen when schools give students opportunities to explore their interests and develop their skills in real ways. When high schools put students at the center of learning, it helps us discover who we are and what we're capable of. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is tough to follow, but hello, good morning. My name is Kiana Warren, and I am the proud CEO of Purdue Polytechnic High Schools. Thank you so much to the members of the Indiana State Board of Education for the opportunity to testify today. And thank you, Dr. Jenner, for your leadership and urgency you bring to improving outcomes for students across Indiana. I also want to acknowledge the XQ team and CEO Russell and Ali for their partnership and for elevating innovative models that help states like Indiana accelerate progress. Indiana policy has created the conditions for meaningful innovation in K-12 education. Specifically, Indiana's flexibility around competency-based learning, credit structures, and work-based learning has made it possible for schools like ours to exist. Because of that, our students are experiencing a different kind of high school, one designed for the world they are entering, not for the one we left behind. Our mission is to prepare each student to persistently pursue their next giant leap. Our vision is that every student finds their voice and realizes their potential as a leader in college, career, and in life. Indiana's policy environment allows us to design schools around what students need the most. Rigorous academics connected to real opportunities, meaningful work-based learning, and strong partnerships with higher education partners and industry. Through our partnership with Purdue University, Boiler Up, students experience a clear pathway from high school to post-secondary success grounded in STEM, problem solving, and real-world application. For example, students earn credits by demonstrating mastery through interdisciplinary projects and applied work, not just seat time. In one urban agricultural project, students combine their passion for math and science to design and construct a sustainable growing system that addresses food insecurity and food deserts in our community, using algebraic modeling, data analysis, and environmental science to develop real solutions to real problems they care deeply about. And this approach that we're using is producing results. Our graduation outcomes are in the high 90s. Access to advanced coursework and college credit has expanded, and attendance is improving. And most importantly, students are persisting into post-secondary pathways that are aligned to their goals. These outcomes include students who have not always thrived in traditional high school settings. In our schools, students have voice and choice. Learning is hands-on and interdisciplinary. Relationships matter, and community partnerships open doors to real-world experiences that help students see futures for themselves and prepare for it. Where we are headed next is about growing our impact, expanding advanced coursework, deepening career pathways tied to Indiana's workforce, and strengthening support from 9th grade all the way through post-secondary success. With continued structure support, more schools across Indiana can offer these kinds of learning experiences. Indiana has positioned itself as a national leader in enabling school innovation. With continued support, we can extend opportunities, strengthen outcomes, and ensure even more students graduate ready for their next giant leap. Thank you all for your leadership and your commitment to students across our state and for ensuring that Indiana's policies continue to work in service of our students. Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Jenner and members of the board. Thank you first for approving the accountability model. It's been a lot of hard work, so thank you for the effort. It's kind of unnerving you sitting next to me, like old times. My name is Andy Allen. I have the honor and privilege to represent the Plainfield Community School Corporation as superintendent. I appreciate the opportunity to tell our story today, specific to Plainfield High School, rooted in academic excellence, supported by 16 next-level programs of study, and well-positioned to leverage the clarity and permeability of the new Indiana high school diploma requirements. It's a little odd to stand here and take credit for something I really didn't have much to do. So I do want to recognize those that came before me, Scott Olinger, our former superintendent, and his, now my central office staff, Brent Schwanenkamp, our high school principal, and also Pat Cooney and Melvin Seifert, who preceded him. And also the Plainfield Community School Board and the town of Plainfield. As an example, this is how it can be done when you partner together. Alignment around one mission, bringing joy to learning, where the students and educators at the center of our decision-making model. Plainfield is a school corporation and a community rooted in academic excellence. Over the past decade, we in Indiana have attempted to better define the desired high school experience. Further, many in this room have empowered school leaders to lead this design locally within the frameworks focused on Indiana. Since August, one responsibility remains clear: maintain and expand upon the relationship between the town of Plainfield and the Plainfield Community School Corporation as we meet not only the needs and desires of our students today, but also matching those needs to those shared by our industry partners in town, which leads specifically to Policy 4, cited by XQ. And yes, just yesterday, we met at the Maid Building in Plainfield and began the next strategic plan, better defining our customer base, increasing completion opportunities for high school students, enhancing second chance opportunities for our adult populations, and growing leaders in professional settings focused on upskilling and career advancement. This evolution, and we're going to talk a lot about high school, begins actually, in our mind, with a focus on pre-K, and in our case, the Little Quakers Academy, visualizing how their high school experience will look and feel different than our 26 graduates. We, however, cannot wait until they arrive to redesign the high school experience. Rather, we begin now, providing opportunities and experiences, developing skills, and solidifying competencies through performance. We have tremendous confidence in our recent graduates, and we look forward to this class graduating here in May. Beginning with our freshmen, however, the class of 29, an evolution in skills and experiences using the example of student hyphen, focused on what fills in after the hyphen embodies our desires for the individual and collective high school experience. Using the framework and flexibility provided by the Indiana legislature, enhanced by Dr. Jenner's leadership, willingness of the state board and others for schools to focus on talent and skill development along with their requisite academic knowledge. We frame these skills in categories such as communication, collaboration, and work ethic, and further define these durable skills, such as those demonstrated through reading comprehension strategies, Microsoft Excel formulas and formatting, AI prompting, data analysis, and presentation capabilities. This process allows for talents with intentional efforts to become recognizable skills. Newly created durable skills matched with focused efforts lead to greater and more relevant student achievement. The XQ report clearly articulates what Indiana does well. 6 of the 10 policy actions implemented, and more in the developmental phases. Perhaps appropriately described as moving from theory to practice to mastery. What remains are areas we intend to capitalize about 15 minutes west of here and 15 minutes west of downtown Indianapolis and Plainfield. We focus first on professional development, matching our existing classroom practices to evolving industry needs. And I had the experience and pleasure this summer in a teacher externship, paid teacher externship with the Batesville Casket Company, where I learned all facets of the business. And it was highlighted from every individual I talked to within the Batesville Casket Company that their 3 pillars were caskets, cremation, and technology. It is by no coincidence that we focus on exactly 3 things at Batesville High School, and we're focused on exactly 3 things within the Plainfield Community School Corporation as a filter all back to those goals. Also, we talked about the next generation assessment, how professional learning framework of spatial and experiential learning works. Yes, we need the requisite background knowledge, and it works best when it's aligned to some type of program of study. We also talked about even in 7th grade beginning a skill development process. But what is the purpose and what is the target of the learning? Similar to the experience this summer, I prepared, I listened, I analyzed, and I demonstrated. That's skill-based. If we can create that same opportunity with our kids around the next generation assessments, again, we'll lead the nation. We also will do well when we align these to our industry partners, utilizing and leveraging their time and talents with working with our kids and our educators. I'd also be remiss if when I talk about Policy 9, the redesign transcript. I want to reference our work at Batesville High School that goes on today, the page 2 of the transcript, the living and breathing experiences that our students have, including those on the transcripts that follow the kids so that when they graduate, we start to fill in what goes after the hyphen in the student hyphen concept. The future is in fact high school. As we learn more about executing the future of high school, our preparation begins well prior to high school as we see the work today in our career lab in grade 8 at the Plainfield Community Middle School. This experience where all 8th graders undergo prioritizes movement, exploration, failure, skill development process, a realization we will not be successful on the first attempt. And I invite all of you to come see the career lab and go through the many stations that they have. It's a tremendous experience to be a part of. Hoping to answer really one thing. What do I enjoy most and what am I willing to learn more about in that 8th grade experience? We want to expand the high school front foot. Academic knowledge is the core of what we do. Skill and competencies aligned to academic knowledge is when it works the best. We want to leverage our existing and desired autonomy. We want to personalize the school experience and localize it as much as possible. We'll often be asked, how do we measure these things? And I think we just did some of that today and we'll continue to do that. But we want the tangible experiences leading to tangible outcomes to be the metric that guides this work in the high school. It's my honor to invite all of you to Plainfield High School tonight from 4 to 7. We'll be on the north side, door 25. You'll see the high school on one side and the Made at Plainfield building on the other side. And we intend to leverage both of those opportunities for our high school students and those in the region and the area. Thank you for the opportunity of work.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for everything that you've done this morning. Thank you for everything you've done over the last several years to create the path for us to be able to stand before you today and have conversations about the things that we're able to talk about today. So my name is George Philhauer. I'm the superintendent at Eastern Hancock Schools. If you don't know where Eastern Hancock is, you take 70 out of Indianapolis. We're the school that you can see from the interstate, and you can't quite get there from that same interstate. I'm also the proud CEO of a new charter school in Indiana called the Indiana Micro School Collaborative. And both organizations, we're on a relentless pursuit towards the vision of that each kid in Indiana gets to go to a school that feels like it was designed just for them. And the most important word in that sentence is each. Sometimes we use the word all, and all sometimes, if we're not careful, can mean enough to make the grown-ups feel good enough about the work we're doing. And I think it's really important to double down on the whole N of one conversation that we've been having all day today. And in Indiana, we're fortunate to be in a state where we get to look at each individual student. The way that we try to achieve that vision at Eastern Hancock and through the Indiana Microschool Collaborative is through 4 design principles that we call our promises. So promise number 1, we call joy. And we just feel like in school sometimes, and for too long, we've talked to kids about school the same way we talk to them about eating their vegetables. That it's not probably an enjoyable experience, but if you suffer through it, it's going to be worth it. And we think we could do better. We think joy has to be something that's intentional and something that the kids should learn to love learning. And also we realize that joy and fun don't always mean the same thing. But we're confident that if we deliver on all 4 of those promises, that kids will find the joy in their learning. Promise number 2 for us is connection. It's the idea that each kid should feel known by name, strength, interests, future hopes and dreams and needs. And the most important word in that phrase is feel. Because I can know a lot about you, but if you don't feel known, then it's pretty much for nothing. Promise number 3 for us, we call growth. It's the idea that each kid should learn something new every day that they remember. And that sounds really simple, unless you've ever taught anything ever in your life. And there are 2 important pieces to that. We want to make sure kids are learning something new every day. That's where things like competency-based learning and all of those fun things come into play. We know that kids are spending a lot of time at school most days learning about stuff that they already know, which means they're showing up every day with an agenda to prove that they already know stuff instead of with the agenda to learn things that they don't know yet. At the same time, we want them to learn things that they will remember. We all remember taking a test at 2 o'clock on a Friday, and by 3:15 we can't remember anything on that test. So we want to make sure that we're giving our kids a relevant learning experience and that they are actually remembering the things that we're teaching them at school because they're useful for them beyond the scope of just that assessment. Promise number 4 for us, we call success. And while academics are incredibly important, but our promise of success is just a reminder that academic proficiency is not the whole job. We want to make sure our kids are confident and excited about the Monday after graduation. For us, that looks like a lot of career exploration when kids are younger. We know that a kid can't aspire towards a career if they don't know that it exists. So we want to make sure that our kids are aware of all the possibilities they have at their fingertips. For us, the promise of success is the most exciting part of that is we've got a couple kids here that could talk to us about it. 1/3 of our kids get to experience a work-based learning experience where they spend half of their school time getting paid in a high-wage, high-demand job that has a potential for career advancement. We've been fortunate at Eastern Hancock. We've been at this for 5 years, so we've collected some good data. We know that half of our kids that are doing work-based learning are involved in extracurricular activities. If you've ever been to our school, you know that we're not very close to anything either, so that means they're driving to probably Greenfield or Newcastle to work and then making it back for their extracurricular activities. We also know that about half of those same students are on a path towards a four-year university experience, which also kind of, there's been some arguments that we're trying to push kids to jobs instead of college. And what we try to think about is that we're trying to make sure that our kids are going to college on purpose, that we're giving them lots of opportunities to explore careers by trying them out while they're in high school so that when they go to college, they know that they're going to something and doing it on purpose. Again, I want to express my thanks to the work of this board, Dr. Jenner. I truly appreciate your leadership. I think a challenge we have in Indiana right now is sometimes we're talking about our new high school graduation requirements and we're calling it high school redesign. I think what we have right now is an opportunity for high school redesign. So I'm really excited to be in Indiana where we've got a group of leaders. And as was said earlier, the policy part is done. We have no more excuses. It's up to us now to figure out what do we do to design systems so that truly each kid does get to go to school that feels like it was designed just for them. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We've been here for a couple hours, so I will keep things brief. But Jeremy Lugbill, I serve as CEO at the Career Academy Network up in South Bend, and so thank you for having me. Super excited about sharing today. Can we give, it's so much better to hear from students and celebrate the work that they're doing. Can we give them another round of applause for... So what an exciting day. Thank you to Dr. Jenner, her team, State Board of Ed, Ron. The team has put a lot of effort into all things high school diploma, all things A through F accountability. It's a lot of work and it's historic. I think it's, having folks like Russell and XQ and Laura at ETS and Tim at Carnegie partnering with Indiana, I think it speaks to the leadership and what you all are doing, what superintendents are doing, what principals are doing, the advocacy groups, and so it's exciting. So today's historic. Wanted to give a brief Career Academy Network. So we're up in South Bend. We're a growing network of K-12 schools. We believe in this redesign work. It is kind of who we are. All things career-connected learning, project-based, hands-on, getting students into the community to solve problems and to look at what matters to them and go through that design process of solving problems. And so that's kind of who we are. Our core purpose, we talk about transforming lives through passionate, innovative, and impactful learning experiences. And so all the things that we're talking about today, we believe in and we're trying to accomplish as well up in South Bend. We have remarkable teachers, remarkable principals, really proud of the work that's happening. My board, and Dr. Jenner, maybe you can relate to this with this board, but my board really pushes. It's Jeremy, we got to go faster. We need to keep pushing, and I feel like today is an example of just the pushing, the work, the ability to execute and pass a rule like this. So super excited. Wanted to give a couple examples of what things that we're doing to try to align with the new diploma, with the new accountability work. One of the things that we really, like George, like Kiana, like the rest, Andy, we believe in those career-connected experiences outside of the classroom. We spent a week at the Carnegie Foundation last week trying to figure out how to credit and recognize learning when it happens outside of the classroom. And so we're trying to solve and think deeply about some of those problems. One of the ways that we're doing that is through our work-based learning. We've developed the Career Academy Student Enterprise Corporation. So we have student-run businesses, essentially. Students are taking orders from manufacturers in South Bend, and they are they are machining using their CNCs, their plasma cutters. They are producing a product and selling it back to the employers up in South Bend. They're making a profit. They're getting paid. There's a CFO, there's a CEO, there's a marketing person. They're developing those entrepreneurial skills that are going to help them be successful later on in life. And so that's one way that we're trying to align with all things new diploma, A through F accountability. The Portage School, one of our high schools, is again a part of the Carnegie Foundation, so the Future High School Network, trying to disrupt and figure out how to create learning environments that are not time-based. Learning is constant, right? Time is the variable. So how can we develop systems in the K-12 space that the students are learning all the time? It's not just in the classroom. So that's one example. And then the other thing we're excited about is around our AI work. So last spring we submitted the first one of the first locally created pathways for next level programs of study in AI. So we have students that are sitting in AI classes in their principal's classes this year, and we're really excited about it. So again, thank you for allowing me to share today. Really excited about the work that's happening. Thank you to XQ and all things that we're going to get to see today and meet with the students. And so thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Making sure no one else is walking up towards the mic. Jeremy, were you the grand finale? Great. So a couple of observations And board, you might have questions or thoughts for XQ or the high school work that we feel like we're only just beginning. But a couple of observations. One is I recall starting this job January of 2021. And it was very rare when you had all school types represented, actively engaged, actively coming to the mic for one vision. So I could not be more proud of our state because we are so focused on quality for kids. I mean, we just heard from traditional public schools, charter schools, our non-public school community is here today and very represented and at the table at the State House. We heard George talk about micro schools, but the foundation of all of that is kids and that we can continue to do better. And I'm just so proud of the folks in Indiana. Second thing I heard, George, I wrote this down. We are building a system that allows for the opportunity to rethink high school. And I think that's an important reflection because like any state or any change movement, we have some moving a lot faster and urgently, aggressively, whatever word you want to use, than others. The positive is, and I've seen this over and over in different parts of our state, in our neck of the woods, when you have leaders like we just heard from today pushing in their local community, then the parents at the ball field or the grocery store or church or wherever it might be talk about what their kid can have at that school, and then it pushes all of us to keep getting better for kids. But George, I appreciate you flagging that while I think we're only just beginning and we've started laying the groundwork, that it still is an opportunity to show what's possible. So we all have to lean in and seize the moment. Again, Ruslan and team, so glad to welcome you to Indiana. I shared as I walked in, you were greeted by thunderstorms, and today it's rain. We do have a lot of sunshine in Indiana too, and obviously a lot of excellent movement happening in our state. Any other comments? The board is like, we are exhausted. What we're going to do the rest of the day is, I know we have quite a few students here. We're going to have a student roundtable coming up here shortly. I like to call that a student focus group. We're going to be totally listening to understand from you how we can keep getting better. And then as Andy Allen shared, superintendent at Plainfield, Plainfield will be hosting an event tonight to showcase not only some of their work and what is possible, but showcasing on behalf of Indiana. So huge thank you. On that note, I'll now take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are officially adjourned. Thank you so much.